In the summer of my second year of college, I decided to go on vacation at my aunt's house in the countryside. The place was a beautiful mix of rustic buildings and nature, but with a hint of modern conveniences, such as the occasional convenience store, small restaurants, and clothing and appliance stores. My aunt was more than happy to let me stay for the duration of my vacation, but I decided to just stay for 1 week. I planned to go to the beach next, sort of have a road trip by myself, so I left my car at the auto shop to be worked on. On my 6th day there, I met her. I saw her sitting outside a small cafe sipping lemonade. She noticed me and smiled. I took that as my cue to sit down next to her. "I'm Rose," she said. She had brown hair and soft brown eyes, and she wore a simple white sundress with a matching white straw hat. She was 2 years younger than me and worked in one of the clothing stores. I told her how I was a visiting college student from 3 cities away, and it was my last day in this town. Rose seemed interested in my being a practical foreigner to these parts. We talked for hours. She even ordered some lemonade for me. She told me all about the place and where all the cool hangouts were. I was surprised to hear that the young people would sometimes have raves in the woods at night. "It's one of the few exciting things that happen here about once a month," Rose laughed. "It sounds interesting," I told her. "I'd like to be able to go to one of those with you, but I'm leaving tomorrow." "Well," she smiled at me, "if you like, there's going to be one tomorrow night, at around 9 p.m. If you leave your aunt's house, you could meet me here at 8, and we could go together." I told her that it sounded like a great idea, and that I would go. I stood up to leave when she held me back by the sleeve of my shirt. "Don't tell your aunt where you're going," she said. "It's a secret. We wouldn't want the adults knowing." The following evening, I packed my things and said goodbye to my aunt. I drove to the cafe and ordered food while I waited for Rose. One of the part-time workers there was a young boy of about 13 or 14. Maybe he knows about the rave tonight, I thought. "Hey kid, are you going to the party tonight?" The boy looked at me with a weird look. "What are you talking about?" he replied. Taken aback, I figured that maybe the boy wasn't cool enough to be invited. I picked up my sandwich again until an older teen walked in the cafe. He looked to be about Rose's age, so I decided to ask again. I bought the guy a beer, and when he smiled in appreciation, I sat down with him. "Hey man, do you know of any happenings tonight?" He nodded his head no, and so I decided to ask a different question. "Do you know Rose?" I asked. "Rose? Yeah, I know her. She was a classmate back in elementary." So he knew Rose. I decided to ask more about her. "What are her friends like?" "Friends? She didn't really hang out with anyone at school. I remember she was real quiet when we started high school, then she quit school in our last year. 2 months later, both her parents turned up dead in their homes. They were killed in their house, but whoever did it missed Rose's rooms, so people started saying things." The boy leaned closer to me with a serious look on his face. "Listen, you aren't from around here, so you don't know. I'd stay clear from her if I were you. There are some weird rumors going around about her, like she's part of a gang or something." I felt myself break out into a cold sweat. I decided to ask the guy if the kids in the area hosted raves in the woods in the outskirts of town. He gave me a worried look. "That's not what she told you, was it?" The guy stood up to leave and I returned to my other table. Thinking about it, the whole thing seemed pretty sketch. Why didn't I question it before? But maybe I was just paranoid. At close to 8 p.m. I decided to wait in my car, which was parked close to the cafe entrance. Something still made me uneasy, so I decided to hide in the driver's seat, waiting to see if Rose would show up. A few minutes past 8 went by, and I was starting to believe that she forgot about me, or that she stood me up. At around 8:23, I saw a black van pull up by the road. Then I saw a female get out of the car. It was Rose, and she was dressed in a black dress. Other people went down the van, and from what I could see, they were all males, and they were dressed in black hoodies. I saw Rose talk to 3 men, nod her head, and then enter the cafe. After a few seconds, I heard a shout from inside the cafe, and then all the men ran inside. The whole situation was ominous, so I started my car as quietly as I could and drove towards the city without looking back. My aunt called me the following day, worried that I might not have reached home safely. She was anxious because there were reports about missing people in town. I didn't tell my aunt everything, but I was almost sure it was Rose's doing.